my wage is not high enough, or I don't have other sources of income that can push me above that. That's above my budget. A little bit more on the budget line. The budget line, the slope of it, so this diagonal line has a slope, of course. The slope is the wage. Okay, that's the wage. And so we say that this point of tangency is the point where your wage, which is the slope of the budget line, equals the MRS, which remember is the slope of the indifference curve. Okay, so there again, very, very similar to what we saw in that previous chapter. So let's do a few questions just to make sure that we get it. An employer pays $14 per hour for a 10-hour work per day. So this question is actually not to do with anything we saw, but it's a question that sometimes comes up in this chapter. So I wanted to solve it with you one time. So an employer pays $14 per hour for 10 hours of work per day. As a result of the new law, employers are required to pay 50% overtime. So right now we pay $14 per hour for 10 hours. So if you do the math on that, 14 times 10 is $140. We're paying our workers $140 per day. Now a new law is passed that we have to pay a 50% overtime premium for anything beyond 9 hours. So if somebody is working 14 hours, we have to now separate 9, which would be regular, and 5, which would be overtime. Anything above the regular number of hours would have to be paid a premium of 50%. So they would get paid 9 hours at the regular wage, and they would get paid 5 hours at the overtime wage, which would be 1.5 times the regular wage. That's what the 50% premium is. Just do 1 plus whatever it is. If it's 50%, it's 1 plus 0.5. If it was a 70% premium, it would be 1 plus 0.7. Now the question is, if the employer wants to keep the total payment the same as before, so we still want to just pay $140, what would the new wage rate be? So if I want the total to be $140, what you do is 9 times wage plus 5 times 1.5 times the wage, and you solve for the wage. So 5 times 1.5 is 7.5 plus 9 is 16.5. So if I just show you what I've done so far, 140 equals 16.5 times the wage, and so 140 divided by that. No, that doesn't make sense. Does it? $8.49 is what I got. I don't see it there, but it could just mean that there's a mistake in the answers. Let me just look over the question. So 14 times 10, 140, no doubt there. 50% premium above 9 hours. Yeah, okay, so that's 7.5 plus 9 is 16.5. Okay, so the answer is 8.49. Okay. 2, Marta's boss changed the number of hours that she works. Marta is exactly as happy with her new hours as she was with her previous hours. What does that mean? If she's exactly as happy, it means that she's moved to a different point on the same indifference curve. But her marginal utility from leisure has increased compared to her marginal utility for income. What can we say? So here, if the marginal utility for leisure has increased, that means she has less leisure. This is the law of diminishing marginal returns. It applies to pretty much anything. When you consume more of something, then the marginal utility or the satisfaction you gain decreases. For example, let's say you had 16 hours in a day, and you spent all 16 of those hours working and had 0 hours of leisure. The value that you would place on 1 hour of leisure, think about that. Imagine you worked all day. Think about how much value you would place on 1 hour of free time. It would probably be very, very high. So the marginal utility of leisure would be very high. Now, the more leisure you have, the less value that you place on, I don't know why I put an arrow there, but let's give it a number. Let's say that, when you have 16 hours of work and 0 hours of leisure, let's say that your marginal utility of leisure is 10, whatever. Now, if you had 15 hours of work and 1 hour of leisure, and I said, hey, what about another one? Okay, sure. You would value it, but not as much. It wouldn't feel as good as that first hour of free time. The same way the second cookie you eat doesn't feel as good as the first one. Now, if you had 2 hours of leisure, your marginal utility might be even lower, might be 8.5. And as you start to have more leisure hours, or as you start to eat more cookies, try and draw that same concept, the satisfaction you gain from the next one gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So you see, as there's like an inverse relationship between the amount of leisure you have and the happiness you gain from more leisure. So here it's basically, and that's what I used to answer this question. Because they said that your marginal utility of leisure increased, it tells me that the amount of leisure you have decreased because of that inverse relationship. And so if your number of hours of leisure decrease, and it means you're working more, so you have more income. So earns more money and works more, the answer is B. Less leisure, meaning you're working more, and you're making more money because you're working more. If your substitution effect from a wage increase is equal to the income effect, we talked about this at the beginning of the chapter. The substitution and the income effect kind of offset each other, and one dominates the other, and then that's how we determine whether you're going to work more or less. But if they're equal to each other, it means they cancel each other out, and you actually don't work more or less. You work as much as before. Question number 4, Sally switched from job A to a very similar job B. Job B pays a somewhat higher hourly wage, but unlike job A, it requires Sally that pays her own monthly interest and transportation expenditure herself. Sally now chooses to work 5 more hours per week at her new job, but overall she is just as happy. Just as happy. So ultimately, we are on the same indifference curve. I don't know if we need that. Assuming a 50-week year, what is her annual income effect on the supply of labor? Okay. So if she is working 5 more hours, we'll do 5 times 50. She is working 250 additional hours. That is the end result. That once taking into account her substitution effect and her income effect, she decided that she's going to work 250 more hours. So she has a higher hourly wage. So wage went up and hours of work went up. That's substitution effect. That means her substitution effect was greater than her income effect. So let's look at the numbers. Here it says the income effect was 250 and the substitution effect was 500. So the substitution effect is greater than the income effect. So we have this, and when you put the two together, the net effect of minus 250 plus 500 is plus 250. So the answer here is A. This is the one that fits perfectly with what we read in the story. Now the key here, and you're going to want to come back and review these questions once you've studied a little bit more, is you were able to understand from the paragraph that, the substitution effect is dominating the income effect because we increased her wage and she decided to start working more. This chapter, you want to focus mainly on the theory, understanding the indifference curves, understanding the budget line, how that kind of comes together, the backward bending supply curve of labor, that's also super important. If you have any questions, if you need any additional explanation, please don't be shy to reach out to me. Okay, I'll see you at the next one.